let's talk about underwear. So yesterday I went on a little bit of a rant on my Instagram about how corsets are portrayed in historical period dramas. I binge watched Bridgerton the other day and I was in the mood for more period dramas, so I trolled Netflix for all they had. I watched Mary Queen of Scots, which featured some nice shifts, and then I moved on to The Alienist, which I promptly gave up. Why? Because of the way they depicted corsets in the first episode.
I can't decide whether they abhor our shape or crave another.
Many awesome people have talked about the tropes of corsets in modern films and TV shows. I believe this has become a lazy writing device, which I cannot be bothered with. So how does this connect to Bridgerton? Bridgerton is the new Netflix series, a sort of Regency Gossip Girl. First, I'd like to point you to Costuming Drama's video. I don't think it's quite out yet, but I'll add a link to the cards and the description as soon as it's out, where awesome people discuss some of the representation and race issues within the show. I'm talking specifically about the depiction of costumes and underwear in particular. Now, Bridgerton is clearly not set in your typical Jane Austen Regency. While it is clear that they're evoking a specific time period, this is not a contemporarily accurately written piece, and it's not trying to be, and that's fine. It's a different kind of show, and I'm into it. A disclaimer, people look for different things in historical and period dramas. I don't look for historical accuracy. I look for a historical feel, which means I'm usually easily pleased. One of my increasing pet peeves over the years has been the depiction of underwear. So let's look at Bridgerton. There are plenty of images of underwear, and indeed the show opens with a reference to tight lacing in Regency stays. A quick note, corsets were originally called stays in the 18th century, but they're referred to as stays until well into the 19th century. There are loads of actually contemporary diaries and letters that refer to corsets as stays still. So Regency stays. For this, we need to look at the Regency silhouette. The Regency silhouette locates a very high waistline, often on the underbust, and sometimes, bizarrely, on the bust. The rest of the silhouette usually falls straight down with no demarcation of the waist, and the slim or not very full skirt, often with a slight train. This is a basic outline of the silhouette, which is relevant to undergarments. Here are the typical Regency undergarments: a chemise or shift, stays, petticoat. And that's pretty much it. It really is that simple. The Regency silhouette was one of the simplest and so easy to support. Now you might be thinking, stays? I saw all of those in Bridgerton. They looked good. You would be correct. The stays did look nice, but there were no chemises. Now I've made a couple videos about wearing corsets, and the thing I've emphasized the most is that chemises are freaking essential. The chemise is usually a thin layer of linen fabric, cut very simply or decorated if you're wealthy. Its purpose is to be the first layer on the body. It will protect the body from friction with stays or corsets, and it will protect other clothes from sweat and the likes. Why do I think this is ridiculous? Chemises are the simplest and cheapest layer to make. There's no reason to leave them out. There is no reason to exclude them. And they increase the comfort of historical clothes exponentially. I think if we started including chemises in every single period drama, we'd have less actresses complaining about how uncomfortable the clothes were. We also get scenes like this. Wherein simply implied that the stays have actually damaged her body. Her wounds look to be from friction. And guess what? That wouldn't happen if you had a chemise. So why were they left off? I thought about this for a long while, as well as why corsets are depicted the way they are. I think in the case of Bridgerton, it's the sex appeal. Chemises cover more of the exposed skin, so it would reduce the sex appeal of necklines and exposed limbs, I guess. But I think this is a bad decision. I wouldn't be surprised if those stays were indeed uncomfortable to wear without a chemise, hence giving historical undergarments a bad rep, because they were worn wrong. Imagine wearing a bra upside down and then complaining the bra was uncomfortable. But wait, there's more. Let's rewind back to the first scene in that first episode.
3 misses foisted upon the marriage market like sorrowful sows by their tasteless, tactless mamma.
Tighter! Is she to breathe, Mama? I was able to squeeze my waist into the size of an orange and a half when I was Prudence's age. Your sister shall do the same.
What is wrong with this? Well, we've seen the Regency silhouette earlier on. The most distinctive feature of it is that there is no waist. So even if your waist was the size of a grapefruit, by some magical means, no one would see it. Which makes this scene entirely redundant. Regency stays were not constructed for waist reduction. Their point was to lift up the breasts, creating what is sometimes called a shelf bust, and smooth out the rest of the shape, not to reduce your waist at all. This wouldn't be visible under the dresses. The silhouette does not require it. So why do we get this scene? This type of scene is repeated again and again throughout modern media. Women being tight-laced into corsets, whelping in pain, or fainting. Tight-lacing was a thing, but it was a thing popular only amongst a very, very small percentage of society, and only towards the later half of the 19th century. Because the silhouettes had grown to emphasize the waist, it makes no sense to have it in the Regency period. This scene is there because modern people like to look at the past and think, oh, how ridiculous they were. Yet I think it's ridiculous now to represent it this way, only to make us feel better. One last thing. In Bridgerton, there are drawers everywhere. Drawers, pantaloons, whatever you want to call them. Do not be deceived. Although drawers existed, and there is written record of them being worn as early as the 1820s, they were not popularised or well seen until decades later. It was actually considered improper to wear them. Not only that, but the earliest kinds of drawers didn't have a crotch seam at all. But we can take a second to appreciate these handmade button loops. I also do not quite understand the decision to use drawers when, I mean, you could have used petticoats, which are more accurate and definitely needed for the skirts silhouette anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Let me know down below why you think there are drawers in Bridgerton. So what is the point? Why does it matter? I think the depiction of underwear, particularly as it pertains to women in period dramas, often focuses on elements such as tight-lacing, which are meant to show women as shallow and frivolous. Mrs. Featherington needed a grapefruit-sized waist to get herself a husband. This is lazy writing that modern audiences are ready to eat up. I'm not here to tell you that Bridgerton isn't a good show, or that the costumes aren't good. I enjoyed the whole shebang, and there are definitely some nice details in the costumes about it. And I'm not a Regency expert, but I have been researching underwear quite extensively for a little while now. And in historical silhouettes, historical clothing, the underwear is everything. If your underwear is wrong, you won't have the right shape. You won't have the right comfort. Basically, I'm tired of films and TV shows, these myths and prejudices about corsets. Wouldn't it be ridiculous that if something was really that injurious to women, that they would remain wearing them for centuries? I don't think so. Anyway, I hope to do some more research on the topic of underwear and present it to you here on the YouTubes. Let me know down below if you'd like to know more about specific things. I love talking about it just because I think these things should be addressed. You can still enjoy the show. I enjoyed the show despite these things. Although I did, every time they started taking their clothes off, I thought, oh, she just needed a little shimmies there.